Great. So it sounds like we've started. So welcome everybody. We're just going to give like 2 more minutes to anybody who's still trickling in. I know you guys have kind of been on hold out there, so we'll just make sure everybody's with us and then we'll get started. Someone has some great birds.
Might be me with the windows open.
I love it.
It's sunny and 80 here in Arizona, so it's a pretty beautiful day outside.
Beautiful.
It's snowing right now in Detroit.
Oh no.
We should have our last two panelists just joining us. That was my bad. I left them on hold, but Shannon and also Shannon, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if I'm seen though. Like I see everyone.
You gotta,
Yeah, we can see
I came
it.
in with no video too. You have to find the video button and turn it on.
Yeah.
Also, hi Shannon.
Hi.
It says I just sent you a request.
Oh,
That'd be helpful.
it says all webcam spaces are currently being used. Please wait until a space opens and then try again.
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
the same.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my webcam muted. I can start doing that right now. So there should be space for, and then maybe if a couple of us want to just mute when we're not talking, then we can kind of make sure that whoever is speaking can be seen.
Yeah,
And,
Cheyenne,
yeah,
I was thinking there's a brief introduction that we'll share with everyone. So it sounds like we're pretty ready to get started. As soon as the introduction's done, I'll mute my screen, and then I think both Shannon should be able to be visible. Does that sound good?
Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
Shannon
like
and Shannon, thank you.
Off, not just mute like the sound. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, so right.
Okay.
We'll try that out. Actually, let me just try and do that right now, and then we can okay, I should be off.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now I can see myself. Hi.
there you go. Yes, there we go. So this is our whole panel. Wonderful.
Oh, great. All right, awesome. Okay, everyone who's tuned in, thank you so much for joining us. So Cheyenne, should we get rolling? Are we ready to?
Yeah, you all can see this PowerPoint slide, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Okay, great. So this is, that was Cheyenne Boone from Catholic Volunteer Network just speaking, and my name is Mike McCormick. I'm also with Catholic Volunteer Network. We're here today for the Service Year panel. Thank you so much for joining us. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of who we are and what this panel is about, and why we're having it. And I'll also share some brief housekeeping tips with you. So just a little bit about Catholic Volunteer Network. If you haven't encountered us before, we are a group of over 150 volunteer programs throughout the U.S. We have volunteers who serve within the US, which is the case for all our panelists here today. We also have volunteers who serve internationally. Briefly, our mission is that we foster and promote full-time domestic and international faith-based volunteer service opportunities for people of all ages, backgrounds, and skills. As the leading membership organization of Christian volunteer and mission programs, we support and enhance the work of our members through volunteer recruitment, training and resources, networking opportunities, and advocacy. So our panel today is a chance to hear from 6 people who have done long-term service programs. They're from different programs. They'll have the chance to introduce themselves, share a little bit about their service experience, and then we have 4 to 5 guiding questions that will start our conversation today. We hope that you get to learn a little bit more from them about what faith-based service is all about, and even what their advice would be if you're thinking about faith-based service. The reason we're hosting a panel tonight, and we'll also be hosting another panel next week, is in celebration of National Volunteer Week, which takes place this year from April 19th through 25th. This annual celebration is a chance to just honor and recognize volunteerism within our communities and our nation. And this year, especially with the coronavirus situation that we have, this April, the whole month has been dedicated as Global Volunteer Month. So this is not only a way of sharing about service and hopefully encouraging others to volunteer, but it's a way to honor and recognize all those who have chosen service, including our 6 panelists. So thank you for being volunteers, and know that we really appreciate you serving, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight. I just have a few housekeeping items for the GoToWebinar software. If you've never attended a webinar using GoTo, I know a lot of us have been on Zoom calls these last couple weeks. I just wanted to share these updates, which might be different from Zoom. First, everyone except the presenters will be muted throughout the webinar. This is to reduce feedback and background noise, and just to help us keep the webinar running. The webcams are also disabled for everyone except our presenters. For the audio, if at any point you lose the audio through your computer, you can call in to follow along with the webinar on the phone. You can see the dial-in info by clicking the audio tab on the dialog box. If you have trouble accessing that, just let us know in the chat box. Speaking of chat box, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to type them into the dialog box that says questions/chat at any point. We'll be fielding your questions as they come in. We'll share the relevant questions with the group. And we'll also have a specific time at the end of the webinar for Q&A. One last note, we're recording this webinar so we can share it on YouTube with those who couldn't be with us live today. You'll get an email after this session with a brief survey about our session and a link to the video on our YouTube channel. We invite you to share that with anyone else who might be interested. So thanks for bearing with me for that. So what I'd like to do is just allow the panelists to briefly introduce themselves. And of course, we'll hear more from you throughout our hour together. But I think we have a slide with everybody's information on here. And what I'd like to do before we get into the main session is just introduce yourself. So your name, maybe the volunteer program you served with. If you would like to share where any place that you've gone to school or that you are going to school, and where you're calling in from today, that would be awesome. We would love to know that. Anybody can go first. Or let's go. Maybe we can go down the line. So you've already heard from Mike and Cheyenne. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Shannon Murphy. I am a Mercy Volunteer Corps alum. I served in 2017, 2018 in Philadelphia, specifically in North Philadelphia at a family childcare and community center as a preschool teacher. I went to a small liberal arts school in central Minnesota called College of St. Benedict St. John's University and graduated in 2017 with a degree in communication and a minor in theology. And then after my service year finished in the spring of 2018, I decided to continue serving. So I did a year with AmeriCorps in Reading Corps as an embedded classroom tutor in a Minneapolis school in the North Side. And then I'm currently in my second year in AmeriCorps as a site coordinator with a program called Reading Partners, basically matching community volunteers that want a desire to help students in kindergarten through 5th grade read, and then matching those with students that need the resource. So doing that in a North Minneapolis Catholic school through AmeriCorps, and I am calling in from the West Metro of Minneapolis today. Glad to be here with you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marissa Bell Alonso. I did 2 years of Franciscan volunteer ministry in the Philadelphia area. So I did my first year in Camden, New Jersey, from 2015 to 2016. And I was at a parish school and church, and I was a TA for a 5th grade class. And then I did my second year in Philadelphia at a soup kitchen in Philadelphia full time. So that was 2016 and 2017. And I went to Siena College before doing my 2 years of service up in Albany, New York. And I am currently in school at Drexel University's Thomas R. Klein School of Law. So I'm a law school student. And right now I'm calling in from Philadelphia.
Hi, my name is Shannon Grady. I served in Detroit, Michigan with the Christ the King Service Corps last year from 2018 to 2019. And while I was in Detroit, I was a volunteer 4th grade teacher at a Detroit Catholic school affiliated with the Service Corps called Christ the King School. And before going into the Service Corps, I studied education at Providence College in Providence, Rhode Island. And after finishing my Service Corps year, I moved home to Rhode Island, and now I teach at a Catholic school here. And so I'm calling in from Rhode Island today.
Hello, I'm Faith Isco. I am a alumna of 2 different programs. First, the Bon Secours Volunteer Ministry. I was a child care aide there in Baltimore from 2016 to 2017. And also I did the St. Joseph Worker Program in New York, where I was a NGO assistant at the United Nations for the 2018 to 2019 year. I'm an alumna of the University of Scranton, where I studied international studies with minors in Chinese and communications. And currently I'm an ACE teaching fellow through the University of Notre Dame. And my service for this program is has me teaching 4th grade in Tucson, Arizona. So that's where I'm calling from right now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Katie Little. I did the Christ the King Service Corps in Detroit, along with Shannon, for a year and a half, from 2018 to 2019. I worked as the assistant center manager at a neighborhood community resource center. After that, I decided to stay on for another year working there. They hired me on, so I'm calling in from Detroit. Prior to my time in the Service Corps, I attended Princeton University and Virginia Tech to study environmental engineering.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sierra, and I served in the St. Joseph Worker Program as well, like Faith, but I was in St. Paul, Minnesota during the 2018-2019 year. I was a volunteer with a Catholic high school doing campus ministry. So I was leading the liturgical choir and doing service and retreat opportunities with high school students. And before my service year, I did my undergrad at a small liberal arts school in Rochester, New York, called Nazareth College, and I double majored and double minored. I majored in music and religious studies and minored in music history and interfaith studies. So music and spirituality, pretty important to me. And currently I am in the Master of Divinity program at Boston College School of Theology and Ministry. And that's where I'm calling from today, is Boston. Good to be with you all today.
Hey everyone, this is Mike again from CBN. Thanks so much for sharing a little bit of your background, and we're really excited to have you with us here today too. We have some questions to get started, but you know what? Before I open the floor for this one, I'd actually like to start with a brief opening prayer that we found, and this is something from CRS, which is Catholic Relief Services. So I'm not sure if this prayer is original to them, but this is called the Servant Prayer. So I'll just open us up with this. In the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord and Father of all, help us to rise each day to Easter. Teach us to practice resurrection, to seek love and forgiveness and new life in our relationships, in our work, in our play, in our busy, distracted, lonely world. Lord and good Father to us all, remind us as the earth reblooms that new life is available to us every day. Our portion is abundant if we will but empty our hands of the things that would distract us from you and open wide to receive your resurrection blessings so that we may be your blessing to others. Amen. So yeah, thank you all once again. And just to refresh for our audience, these are all panelists who have participated in long-term, full-time, faith-based service programs. So within Catholic Volunteer Network, we have many different kinds of programs. Some of them are spring break type of immersion programs. Some of them are summer programs that would be something you would do, for example, as a college student in between semesters. And other programs are long-term, meaning that the service commitment is usually 9 months or longer, sometimes up to 2 years or 3 years, as you've heard some of our panelists share. Another thing that all our programs have in common is the element of community. So I believe for everyone on this call that in addition to serving as a full-time volunteer, engaging in a ministry that's unique to them, they've also had the experience of being part of a community of other volunteers while they were serving. And we'll ask some other questions about that throughout this call. So that's just to give you a little context in case you were wondering more about that. So for our panelists, I'd like to just check in before we ask any questions about your service experience. Right now, we're obviously going through a really challenging time, and things are not looking the way that they normally do. For those of you on the call or listening in who are at school right now, that's an area that's been hugely disrupted. And even if you're just working from home or being with your loved ones right now, it's a challenging time as well. So I'm just curious to know from the 6 of you, if you're up for sharing this, what is one thing that's helping you right now through this social distancing period and this COVID-19 outbreak that we're experiencing?
I'm very lucky to be social distancing while living in intentional community. So right now I'm living with 6 other teachers in Tucson, and quality time with them has been a big grace in my life during this time. So we're spending a lot of time doing crafts, playing board games, watching movies together, and that has been very life-giving for me.
I'm going to second that. Having somebody else in the house is a huge benefit. But also, I like to get out of the house and go for walks and runs and bike rides when weather permits. So that's kind of been nice because otherwise I wouldn't be leaving the house. So that's really getting me through.
I've been watching Catholic talks, I guess from from like the Archdiocese of New York. They've been having these like Facebook Live, Catholic speakers. So I'm really enjoying that because then I get a chance to just hear really great talks when they air. So I know it's kind of like nerdy Catholic thing to do, but I've been enjoying it.
Me too. That's why I laughed too. There's lots of great content coming out because of this, so people have been really good in that way. So, yeah.
For me, it's been like breaking up my work day. So like because I've been working from home too, but just like doing some hours in the morning and then like at lunch, like taking the time to do lunch and then like people outside going on a walk, watching something. And yeah, just like making that time in the day to do something different.
And I'm also lucky to be living in a house with someone else, my husband. So it's been really great to have him through all of this and spend quality time with him. And I've also joined him for his workouts. So I started lifting weights. So it's been great to try that out and have something to stick to in the midst of all this uncertainty.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about that. Does sound like some great activities to be involved with, and yeah, I hope that everyone listening in has found your own ways to stay sane and to stay healthy first and foremost, but hopefully to stay a little active if you can too. So for our panelists, you are all not only former volunteers, but professionals on your way to doing even more awesome things. And we are curious to know from you, how has your service experience shaped your career path? I think a fair question is, how has it shaped your education path as well? Specifically, what knowledge and or skills did you gain through your volunteer experience?
I mean, I can start. I was a volunteer teacher, and for those of you that can see, clearly my backdrop is I have created a little at-home classroom nook right now for the times that we are in. So going into my volunteer year last year, I'd studied education, so I'd known I'd wanted to be a teacher for a while. And I think doing it without pay really shows that you have to love it, I guess. But I think being in the particular school that I was in, working with the environment that I worked in, just to repeat, I worked in an inner city school in Detroit. It was a Catholic school, which helped to have a tight knit community, definitely for these kids, but was really a very typical look at the neighborhood basically inside the school. And with the population I was working with, I really learned that you have to be flexible and you really have to be very go with the flow and patient with your teaching methods and with these kids because of the things that some of them are going through, you could never even imagine. And so I think now just working in a different environment, I gained a lot of patience and flexibility and compassion for all of my students now. And I thank the kids I had last year for giving me that, because at times it seemed really frustrating and like why it doesn't have to be this difficult. But I really think it made me a lot more adaptive and flexible as a teacher moving forward. So.
I'm also in education now, so I was one of those seniors graduating from college, and I'd spent 4 years studying one thing, and towards the end I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life. So being able to serve with Bon Secours gave me the opportunity to try out another career path that my heart had always had a draw to, which was education. And then with being with the Bon Secours Volunteer Ministry and doing very local person-to-person service, I absolutely loved that. And very felt my heart in that ministry in so many ways. And I still had this kind of feeling like, well, maybe I should pursue a career in what I did study in college. And with the Sisters of St. Joseph, I had that opportunity in working at the UN. So I got to put what I had learned from my undergrad into a more global lens working at the UN. And still, like, that experience further solidified my love for education as like a foundation to serve those most vulnerable, to encounter God, and to kind of help the world heal through interacting with students and communities. So that helped me find my way again back to education through the Teaching Fellows program I'm in now.
Yeah, for me too, like this volunteer opportunity really reinforced my love and passion for education. I started in elementary ed and undergrad, and then as I got into some of like the sort of like logistical pieces to teaching of like doing lesson planning, all that stuff, I kind of realized like that's the part that I don't love, but I love to be with the students. So the opportunity to do a service year, I think, even if you aren't interested in education, just to like jump into a different career, you definitely learn like what you like and don't like, and it's kind of like reinforced my love for being with students and working with them and like those aha learning moments, which I think has kind of propelled me into continuing education volunteer experiences. And it also like really actively gives you the opportunity to work in areas of social justice and solidarity. And kind of like Faith just talked about, like applying what you've learned in the classroom into living it, which is really cool.
I agree with Shannon about the social justice aspect of a service year. I studied political science in undergrad, so I was more focused on government and kind of like the bigger structures, social structures that we have in place to like address all of humanity. But right now I'm in law school and I'm in my last semester of law school. So this is a great question because I have been reflecting on this more recently. But I'd say that my service years definitely gave me so much more insight into how to be compassionate and empathetic with communities that you're serving. I think that's something that a lot of us experience in like these small service experiences that we have, whether it's like a week or like a weekend. But just to do it full time is really so different, and it really opens your eyes to just the relationships that God places in your life and just the people who you are serving. So that really inspired me to want to go to law school, to want to work eventually to help the communities that I've served, to help those who are facing poverty, to help immigrants. So those 2 years were huge in determining my my drive to become a lawyer.
I studied engineering in school, and so in part I sort of see my stint in doing service as kind of just a gap in my career, because it's I always figured, okay, I studied engineering and now I'm going to go get a professional engineering job and train to get licensed. And so this has, I think, been a gap. That's still the long-term plan. I'm planning to pursue that later this year, to look for engineering jobs. But in the meantime, I think I've gained a lot of just general professional confidence and learned how to talk to people better, how to relate to people better. I have a front-facing, well, when there's not a virus out, I have a front-facing, very kind of customer service type job at a community center. And so just learning how to relate to people and talk to people who I normally would not have had the chance to encounter has been a great benefit. And just learning that I can learn from everybody. You know, there's a lot of, it's tempting to think that, oh, I'm doing service, I'm serving everybody, but really they're serving me as well by teaching me. And it's been a good chance to learn soft skills as well as just compassion and seeing Jesus in everybody.
For me, service and connection to Catholic Volunteer Network literally changed my career path. I originally went to school for music therapy, and it was actually volunteering at St. Francis Inn with Franciscan Volunteer Ministry, as Marissa Bell knows. And it was that experience and learning about like a full year of service was actually a thing. I've always loved service throughout most of my life, and just the chance to give myself fully to it for a year was something I really wanted to do. And as my undergrad time unfolded, I eventually changed majors because I recognized how much I loved service and loved experiencing God through other people and serving and being in solidarity with different communities of people. So I'd say that my year of service was just a chance to just gain even more of that experience. I had been, I majored in music and religious studies and was kind of all over the place in where I wanted to go. And in some ways I still am. But my year of service just really affirmed that I love ministry. I love helping people, and I grew in skills of being more confident with that and recognizing the gifts I have and can offer and can share. And it's kind of what I met so many incredible people and so many great conversations and great stories of other people in their lives, and just really helped affirm for me that the next step was to get more education in my Catholic faith, so I can be more grounded in my faith and learn more and be able to better serve and minister to others in the future in whatever way that ends up being. So in many, many ways, my experience with my service year really affirmed and helped me in knowing more and more that I really want to minister to others, and led me to theology school. So I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about how service has shaped your path and trajectory. And you know, one thing that it just makes me smile, which is that I think that first question, we wanted to ask that to give everyone a chance to talk about, you know, how it has propelled you and equipped you and made you awesome. And each one of you just instantly talked about the relationships and the other people that have helped you in your path. And I just wanted to highlight that because it's just great to know that by doing a service program, I think in some ways it's a chance for you to find out who the hidden helpers are that really help the world go, and for you to take part in that as well. So those were just great responses. Thank you so much for sharing. So another aspect that we mentioned is the aspect of community. So you're all part of the community here on this call, including our listeners. We're people who are interested in serving and want to know how that looks like. But for you, our panelists, you've lived in an intentional community as part of your service experience. So as the question says on the screen, how did living in this community affect your volunteer experience? And also, what surprised you most about community life?
I absolutely love intentional community. It's like the number one thing that draws me back to different service opportunities is the opportunity to live with people and people that you don't necessarily pick yourself. So I've had the opportunity to live as one member of a 6-person community, one member of a 3-person community, and yeah, it's so great because it's different from just being roommates. A lot of times in programs, you are asked to, you know, build a contract and share chores, share a spiritual gathering or prayer group at least once a week. Again, depending on the program. But my favorite aspect, or the thing that surprised me the most, is how much you grow through those relationships and find out things you didn't know about yourself. Whether it be a different prayer style that you enjoy or a meal that you've never cooked before that ends up becoming one of your favorite things to make. And just the amount of joy and laughter that you can experience, and it can be difficult too. I love community life, but it's not always the easiest thing in the world. But you know, knowing that you're all drawn to serve in one way, even if you're serving in different ministries, it really brings out a special group of people. And kind of what I said earlier, you get to feel God's presence through those relationships, through those experiences. And if you choose to serve somewhere different from where you grow up, or where your family might be located, that group can become like a family to you while you're, you know, living and serving away from your regular family.
Yeah, I've also had a few opportunities to live in community. I lived in a 6-person community last year, and then when I was in Philly, we had 2 other people, so 3 of us, 3 women. And it was really a significant part of my undergrad experience was community, and that's what drew a lot of people to the campus. So when I was looking at programs post-grad, that intentional community piece was really important to me. And I think community kind of sort of makes you show up as your best and worst self in a lot of ways. And especially kind of what Faye said too, if you go and serve in another place, I think something my community members and I kind of learned from each other is you start to pull out different things from each other. So they would point out things in me that I'm like, oh, I've never noticed that, or I've always thought that's the right way to do laundry my whole life, and they do that different. So it brings out a lot of different things. And then there's kind of this point in the year where you sort of create a new way of life together, because you kind of become you start doing things the other person does, and you can't really separate those things out. So you're like, is that from me or is that from them, which is kind of cool. And lastly, just learning. One of my community members, her parents are Latino, and so for her, Dia de los Muertos was super important, and I learned a ton from her during the year that I still think really fondly of. And then my other community member actually grew up in Minnesota. We had mutual friends, mutual connections, didn't know each other before the program. So that was a huge blessing from God, that friendship that we gained during the year. That doesn't happen to everybody, but yeah, you definitely get to be living with people that you might not otherwise encounter in life, which is really neat.
I'd love to just echo what Faith and Shannon just shared. I 100% agree. Living in community was incredibly enriching, I think, because you're building these really deep relationships that are more intentional, that are faith-centered, and where you are working towards the same goal of serving others. So it's just really beautiful. The thing that surprised me the most about community living is definitely the amount of growth that I endured and went through. I think living with people who care about you in such a specific way that all these different volunteer placements have, it really just kind of gives you a chance to experience God working through other people and telling you kind of what needs to change, or what about yourself is beautiful, or what about yourself is something that needs to be worked on. So I really loved the changing aspect of community and how much it made me grow as a human.
I think just to bounce off of that, something that surprised me about community in particular in the program that Katie and I were part of was our service program was through a parish. And so I really found that not only was I in a community with the two women that I was living with, but the whole parish just kind of scooped us up, and we really gained so many community members, if you will. And well, before all COVID, I was really fortunate enough to visit Detroit a ton, and I would go back as much as I could. And every time I would land in the Detroit airport, I just felt like I was home. And I really just felt like I gained so much more from like outside of my home. And I have so many people of all different ages that I go and visit every time I'm back in Detroit, whether it's my 9-year-old students or like 50-year-old men. Like I have people who from like all across the board who just really hold a really special place in my heart now. So I think definitely echoing what everyone said about inside the house, but then also within your neighborhood and the community that you're living in really surprised me how close and indebted I really feel now to the neighborhood I was in the city that I was living in. So
I 100% agree with you on everything that you just said there. And also just the community that I find in work too, because I work at a community center, and so it does have very much a family feel to it. So that's been very nice. So it's been nice sort of having these different circles of community. There's the immediate community in the house, there's the parish community, there's the work community that's sort of tied to the parish community, but it's got some, some overlap, but some different people. So that's been very cool. What surprised me most about community life has been how much it changes, how much one person can change the dynamic of community life, because I've now been living in the community house for over 2 years, and so I've seen several iterations of the Service Corps come and go. They can't get rid of me, oops. And so it's been really really interesting because one person will leave, another person will come. There's some overlap between different sort of Service Corps generations, just the way this has gone. And so it's just been interesting, like how you kind of form a new community each time there's a single change, even if there is some overlap. So it's been intriguing just to see how the dynamic changes, but it's usually positive no matter what. So
I'm super, super grateful of my community of 3 that I had in the St. Joseph Worker Program. One of the immediate surprises of community life was when I signed up for the program, I expected like living in community to be with like 6, 8, 9, 10 people. So like I was totally preparing for that many people, and it ended up only being 3. So that was like an initial surprise, that living in community, I guess like where 2 or 3 are gathered, right? So, but I love the 2 of them to death. We had so much fun together. We all shared the gift of music and would jam together, and we had similar senses of humor and were making puns all the time. And one of my community mates was just a huge, well, they both are huge lovers of memes, and so much meme sharing would go on, and we'd go on all sorts of adventures together. And I think that was just really a blessing that the 3 of us got along so well, being similar jokesters and introverts and all of that. So I just am really glad that we had each other throughout the year, to have someone to share and listen stories from our placement sites, to help each other out at our different placement sites. So I wasn't just at my placement site. Like I got to help out with a few events with my other community mates placement sites as well. So it's just really great that we supported each other in so many ways, and kind of challenged each other to get out and do different crazy things around Minnesota. And yeah, I definitely echo the comments that a few of you have made, that living in community, you really realize how many other communities you're a part of and how connected to them and grateful for them you are. The St. Joseph Worker Program allowed me to become super connected with the Sisters of St. Joseph community, literally nationwide. Have so many connections with the sisters, and just feel just such a strong connection, and just so proud and honored to be part of such a great community as that. And so I'm really grateful for community. It's something I really loved and really appreciated, and all the communities I was a part of during my service year were people I could lean on and count on and learn from and grow with and love. So yeah.
Thank you all for sharing that. Great reflections. And for our attendees on the call, I just wanted to mention those are we just got through 2 of our 4 main questions. So we'll try to finish the other 2 in the time we have remaining. I want to encourage you, if you do have a question from anything our panelists have shared so far, please type it in the chat box, and we can always take time. Cheyenne is monitoring the questions, so we can always interrupt our schedule and ask something if the question is really relevant and timely. So with that being said, let me move on to our 3rd question for our panelists. What role did faith play in your volunteer experience or your initial decision to serve? How, parentheses, how or did your faith evolve along the journey?
For me, faith was a big role in starting in my initial decision to serve. I felt like my faith was stronger in college when I was actually doing service, and like as opposed to other times. So I was kind of curious. I was like, I wonder if there's something there. I wonder if like doing it longer term is gonna be like really great for my faith and really great for my relationship with God. And it was. And I think also it played a huge role in my experience in my first year, where I kind of struggled with my ministry placements, but I kind of went into the year thinking, okay, God, I'm going to give you this year of service. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be bad. And it wound up being that like the challenges that I did face, they were, crosses that helped me strengthen my faith and still feel loved and still experience a lot of growth. But my faith is what definitely carried me through that year. And yeah, it definitely just grew from that, from trusting God and the service that He wanted me to be in.
I think similar to what Marissa Bell said, I knew that I wanted faith as part of the year, and I think in faith God led me to a Mercy Volunteer Corps in a very particular way. And then as soon as I committed and said yes, I was like, what am I doing? But so many times during the year, I think because I was in a different place and really had to pay attention and like acclimate to my surroundings, that like slowed life down in a lot of ways, even though a service year is also really busy. So in those moments, kind of in between, there was time to really grow personally in my relationship with God. Towards the end of my year, my walk from like where I got off of my bus to my community center, I would just use that time to pray and talk to God in the morning and then in the afternoon, which is like a nice way to recap and reflect on things. I think another big piece that happened during the year was just that it was really expanded, my faith perspective, because of getting to witness the way that the different communities I was involved in worship and relate to God, which is really cool and really inspiring in a lot of ways too. And then entering into my community that I was living with, we all brought kind of different faith experiences too, and still giving that space to have conversation about what that looks like for each of us. I learned a lot from just the different people I encountered in my year and what their relationship with God looks like and what it means for them, which is really edifying in a lot of ways.
I agree with what you guys have said. I think faith definitely had a big role in me choosing to come to Christ the King in particular. I mean, I had the idea that I wanted to do a year of service, and I almost committed to a different one, but something was just telling me, I was like, I think the Spirit's telling me I'm not supposed to do that one. I think I'm supposed to go to Detroit. And that turned out to be a wonderful choice. So God knows what he's doing, and even if I don't. And my faith has definitely evolved. I mean, I think I've changed as a person just by virtue of all the people I've met and all the experiences I've had. And so sort of my faith has had to change along with that. And it's good to kind of just have that church. I mean, we live across the parking lot from the church, so that's really great. I don't usually take the opportunity to run over there as much as I should, but like when there's a really tense, a few weeks ago when everybody was on edge because coronavirus was really just coming, everything was kind of coming to a head. And we had a really tense discussion one night, and I just kind of like, after it was over, I beat it over to the church, and I was like, this is a good time to sort of ground myself and center myself. And so just kind of having those challenges within years of service has enabled my faith to grow in ways that I didn't, envision going into it.
I think for me too, faith had a huge role in me choosing to do the program. And it's interesting too, because now that it's over, I look back on my year with like really fond memories and I miss it and things like that. But there were moments during it where I really struggled and it was really hard. And I think something that I took away from it though was that my faith was strengthened through that, in the sense that I was never like shaken by it. Like I never doubted, I never like questioned, I never fell away, but it was challenging and I really had to push through at certain times. But I think by virtue of just being around so many people who you probably would have never met before in your life, to me, that just, it was almost like impossible not to grow in my faith in that way, because I was getting like a different lens into someone's personal life every single day. So I was really given lots of opportunities to offer up my struggles during that for all the people that I was meeting and the people that I was encountering, and then being able to really tangibly like see a light at the end of the tunnel was really, really great. So I think I learned a lot about like the power of storytelling within faith, especially with Jesus being like such a storyteller and like connecting with so many people. So I think that was something I learned in hindsight, that my faith was growing even when I didn't even recognize it, because I was interacting with so many people and like carried so many people so compassionately and empathetically, like deeply with me every day, which I think was why like the pain like really hurt at times. So.
I can follow this trend in saying that faith really played a huge role in leading me to my year of service. It was really important part of why I wanted to do it. And I'm really grateful for all the opportunities I had to grow in my faith because of the St. Joseph Worker Program. The Sisters of St. Joseph have a tradition of doing sharing of the heart prayer. So doing that once a week, every Monday nights with my community and our program directors, I think just really grounded me throughout my week. I volunteered at a Catholic high school, and I'd never gone to a Catholic school growing up or in undergrad. So like experiencing what faith looks like in education, and just the grounding of each class starting with prayer and the day starting with prayer. And I think that was really grounding. It is because of Cretan-Derham Hall that I have memorized St. Francis Peace Prayer because we said it every morning. And it's such a grounding prayer for me now because of it. I think there was definitely a lot of times when kind of faith got lost in all the things I was doing. But there are always those grounding moments for me of prayer. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And I'm also really grateful for my community, all the intense theological discussions we got into, and just really wrestling with hard, difficult questions about faith together. I'm also grateful for getting to share prayer and experiences with many communities because of my volunteer experience, with whether it was with the Sisters of St. Joseph or with local churches in the area that I was living, getting to be a part of some communities and being invited to all these different kinds of prayer and ways of celebrating and worshiping God. So I really, really cherish all of those experiences I have, and know that I became more grounded and more aware of my own faith through all of the experiences I had. So really grateful.
I'll try to make mine super quick. But I wasn't someone who was very strong in my faith. When I was entering my first program, I had in my mind, like, what, I really want to serve others. I want to be with people. Like, the faith aspects of it are just a bonus. But then actually being in a program totally changed my mindset and helped me to grow in my faith. Opportunities for retreats, spiritual direction, just coming together and praying every day over meals with other people really helped me to have a deeper experience with what I was doing, but also to click in with all those Catholic social teachings and things I had been learning about as an undergrad, and the Jesuit ideals I had learned about. So I grew so much stronger in my faith through service, and also kind of what Sierra was saying, working alongside sisters. I got to work with the Sisters of Bon Secours and the Sisters of St. Joseph, and they're just such phenomenal lights in this world, and really, really exceptional women to learn from and learn with and learn about different charisms. So I grew a lot in my own faith through the different sisters and nuns that I've met over the years and continue to, hang out with.
Thank you all so much. I think those reflections are really worth meditating on. And we have one more question for you to close out our time together. To anyone listening live right now, I want to say thank you once again, and just thank our panelists for sharing what they have with you. If we're going to stay on for just a couple more minutes to wrap up here and to take any questions that you have. If you do have to go, we understand. I would just like to encourage you, if you've been moved by anything these panelists have shared, we invite you to take one action, which is to visit. At the bottom of this PowerPoint slide, you can see our name, which is Catholic Volunteer Network. If you visit CatholicVolunteerNetwork.org, that's our website. You'll learn more about all these programs that our panelists have served with. You can also read our blog. There are some really awesome stories of service and stories of faith and stories of community. All these things that we're discussing available on the CVN blog. Another thing you can do at that website is click our tab, which says Choose Service. You can watch some videos about different volunteers' experiences. You can also find opportunities for next year for 2020, 2021. Many service years run along the academic calendar. So I encourage you to do that. And thank you once again for being with us tonight. So for our panelists, I hope this is the most fun question. And this is the one we'll close out with. So how has service helped you to embrace your different identities in whatever sense that means for you? What aspects of volunteering have challenged or strengthened your sense of belonging?
I think for me, doing a service year, kind of like I mentioned earlier, especially if you're putting yourself in a completely different place, can really bring a lot about your identity to life that maybe you didn't even know was there. And I think some of that comes through the people you encounter in your work too, because like they don't know you. So you're kind of like learning about each other as you go through the work. And like, I think often either like if it was a sister in mercy or like a parent or a student would like tell me something, and like I was almost surprised by it because it's like I didn't know that part of me was there until they like spoke that truth to me. And then kind of like living into that too. And I think a big kind of theme that's run through our conversation today is just like the different communities you encounter. So like when I show up in my like work community versus my home community, like different aspects of my personality come out. And also kind of like recognizing like how I show up in a space, and like sometimes it's just my presence, but other times it's actually doing like an act of service or it's an act of ministry. So it's been really neat. And then just the way that God like brings things back around in your life too, to kind of work on those skills again.
For me, with serving others, I think a lot of times we're called to, or every time, no matter how you're serving, you're called to love people as they are. And you know, that doesn't mean not wanting the best for other people, but realizing you're walking with people. And I think that in being asked to love people as they are, you kind of realize that you should love yourself the way you are. And again, not that you shouldn't try to grow and change, but being vulnerable with other people and recognizing different aspects about yourself, whether it be through a loving and direct comment from your community member, or you know, having the opportunity to reflect on your own or with other people. It really challenges you to, you know, love who you are, and you want to grow to be your best for yourself and for the other people around you. And I think the second question about challenging or strengthening your sense of belonging, I think part of that family you didn't pick experience challenges you and, you know, strengthens you as a person, and not only your relationship with the people you're living intentionally with, but you bring skills and healing methods and other things to the other relationships in your life, even with the people you're not intentionally living with. You can't help but change and grow and learn from your experience.
I think something that surprised me about like learning about your identity, I guess, throughout the year was going into it, I knew that my title was a volunteer. So I just expected to serve and I expected to help and be the doer and the giver, but realized real quickly that I need help. And I received a lot more and like really learned through my time in Detroit how to ask for help, which I was not expecting at all, because I was so I felt comfortable going into the volunteer year because that's just what I do. That was part of my personality. I help people, but learned really quickly to accept help and accept hospitality from other people, and how that was such a gift. And I think leading to the next part of the question, strengthening your sense of belonging, I think it really leaving made me want to be that kind of person in my in my day-to-day life that just welcomes strangers so radically without any sort of reason at all. I mean, we had people who, just because we were the volunteers, would like do anything for us at the drop of a hat. I mean, they knew nothing about us, but we're just so grateful for our service and were willing to help us in whatever way they could to make us feel supported and loved and cared for there, which then helped us be able to do that for the people that we were directly serving. But I think I learned that leaving is one of the biggest takeaways for how to treat people in your day-to-day life, to just really be open to those kind of divine appointments and just being open to welcoming opportunities to help people, but also accept help.
I think that some of the challenges that I faced both at work and in community when there's been difficulties at either, in either scenario, that's been very humbling, because it's taught me a lot about myself. And people will tell me things, kind of constructive criticism type of things that maybe I had turned a blind eye to before, and it's like, oh, that's something I need to work on. But that in turn, it can be a hit to my confidence at first, but then realizing that, like, oh, this is something I need to work on, then builds my confidence if I'm able to like internalize it and digest it and actually build on myself. And something that challenged my sense of belonging at first was just, I, had never been in a place that was not majority white before. I'd always been in the majority, the racial majority, and just coming into a new culture was surprising for me. I mean, I knew what I was doing coming to Detroit, but it was also, it taught me a lot, because I just hadn't been exposed to as much diversity before. So that at first challenged my sense of belonging, like, oh, I shouldn't be here, I'm not in the right place. But then as I learned to make friends, it kind of strengthened my sense of belonging. And I found that just sort of being genuine, and like, I can be pretty weird sometimes, but just kind of being genuine and trying to show the best intentions has been useful in strengthening my sense of belonging when people accept that.
I'll just say very briefly that my year of service with the St. Joseph Rucker program really encouraged and allowed me to explore my gifts and talents, different aspects that made me who I am, and be confident in them, be confident in the good work that I can do, and the gifts that I can contribute. It was really affirming to provide service in so many ways throughout my year, and to really see that and be affirmed in that, that it almost lends itself to a feeling of belonging, and that I am a part of this because I have a part of me that I can contribute to this place. My presence alone can be so valuable, and so I really appreciate all the experiences that taught me that. I appreciate having a loving, supportive community that helped me work through different traumas that I was dealing with, and I think, like, in so many ways, it's still teaching me how to self-love and to take care of myself and reach out for help, especially when it comes to past traumas. So for that, I'm really grateful for. I think another challenge I do want to mention as well is I was so blessed with this amazing communities of belonging by being in this program, and that transitioning from that to grad school in a completely different place it's really made me struggle with feeling my sense of belonging here, because I felt like I had such a sense of belonging in this place in Minneapolis, and with the sisters, and with the communities I was a part of there, that it's been really a challenge to adjust to the communities I'm a part of here. And it's something I'm still figuring out of why that is. But I think that's sometimes a reality, is recognizing and appreciating the places that do welcome you, and to carry those with you in times where not every place you go you're going to feel a sense of belonging, and to hold on to the communities that help you in your sense of belonging, and who you are, and valuing who you are moving forward in life. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think for me, my years of service really helped me embrace that part of myself that really just wants to serve others, that I think Shannon was saying earlier in the last question. But being with Franciscan friars in both of my service years, like, that was really great for me, because I was able to embrace that Franciscan value of service, which, like, a lot, every Catholic has too. But it was such a blessing to see that with them. So much so that, like, after my year, I wound up getting a tattoo of, like, the Tau cross, which is Francis's kind of symbol that he has. So serving with them really helped me embrace what my Catholicism looks like, and how that's shown to the world is, like, through my service with others.
This is Mike one more time. Thank you for sharing those responses, and I would invite everyone to just take a deep breath, and just trust that we're all here as part of this community, and this service experience is one step. I think, as some of you have pointed out, on a lifelong journey, and we just wish the best for all of you, and hopefully service is something you continue to draw your inspiration from. You've certainly been really inspiring tonight with us. I just wanted to ask Cheyenne to advance the slide, and we'll give an opportunity now. I'm sorry that we're running over, but this has been such a great session, and we're really hesitant to end it. But if you have any questions for our panelists, you can type those now in the box, and you'll also see some information here about how you can learn more about serving and about volunteering if you're thinking about that, or if you've got someone in your life, a friend, a student, a family member who might be open to this kind of experience. So yeah, I'll ask our panelists to just hang on for a moment, and we'll see if we have any questions come in. And maybe as Cheyenne's checking those questions, I would just ask, would anyone have any advice to share with someone thinking about doing service? Like, if you had to boil that advice down to, a couple sentences, or like a tweet length response, I guess, like, what sort of things would you encourage people to think about, pray about, talk about with others?
Follow the Spirit if it's calling.
Just do it. It'll change your life.
Yeah, do it. Don't come in with too many expectations of any sort. Just kind of take it at face value and do it.
Yeah, my advice is do it. You learn so much about yourself, about the world, about so many things. It's so many amazing experiences that you won't get quite in the same way anywhere else than if you commit to long-term service. So do it.
Take the leap, because where you land will be beautifully challenging.
I think just surrendering to everyone is capable of serving in one way kind of calms a lot of fears in the process of, you know, looking for where to serve or what service might look like for you. But also talking with the people that you love and the people who know you can help you navigate what, you know, it can be a little bit stressful trying to figure out where to go. You know, it's easy to say let go and let God. It's a little bit harder to put it into practice a lot of times. But with CVN having like over 150 different programs, there is something out there for everyone.
Yeah, and to add to that, just if you're discerning where to go, where am I meant to serve, like just really ask yourself what you're looking for, what you want out of the service year, because I think that's really important in recognizing where you want to serve, if you want to live in a certain community, if all these things, and CVN does a great job of kind of narrowing down the where, the what, the financials, the communities, all of that. So just really ask yourself, what are you looking for? What is not only is what is God calling you to? This is co-authorship of your life. It's you and God. So just really be in touch with yourself and what you want to get out of this year.
Yeah, thanks everybody. This is Cheyenne from CVN again. I just wanted to come in with a couple of questions. So I think a really important question that we got is, how do I talk to, or maybe even convince my parents, friends, neighbors, you know, that Lyft driver that was really judgy, like whoever, about service, especially if people have doubts about finances, I would say is usually a big concern, or maybe safety. So I'll give you a second to talk about that, or to think about that. And I just wanted to offer a quick answer to another question that we got, which was about older volunteers. So many CVN programs have certain age requirements, both lower limits and upper limits. But some of them take volunteers of any age or over 21, but no upper limit. And that would all be able to be found on our website. And I would just offer that my own service experience, I got to serve, I didn't live with, but in my program in the house across town, one of our volunteers was a 76-year-old sister of Loretto. And I served in a Lutheran program, so it was extra wonderful to have sort of her voice and her perspective. And she served, you know, full time and lived in community. And it was just like one of the most wonderful and inspirational people I've ever met. So if you are not graduating and you are here on this webinar and you're at a different stage of life, I would really encourage you to check out some opportunities available to you, because I really think that kind of intergenerational learning is hard to find, and a really beautiful thing when it can happen. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that about Sister Mary Kay. Shout out to her. And yeah, if anybody has any advice about parents, we'd love to hear it.
Also, my volunteer program, Franciscan Volunteer Ministry, or FVM, they also have people pretty regularly who are not just college grads. So I don't think there's an age limit for our program. And then in terms of like parents, my parents were okay with it, but I know in one of the years that I served, we had a volunteer whose parents were really worried about her like career trajectory, because she was in like the medical fields and she was going to be a PA. So she wound up finishing school. I think if that's a concern, maybe like you could tell your parents like there's, you know, like I'm finishing law school. Like I took a break in between to do this. She became a PA. She's now a PA after doing 1 year of service. So there's definitely ways to still go along your career trajectory if that's a concern for parents. Just want to offer that.
In Mercy Volunteer Corps too, we have typically a few older volunteers every year, and they're just a really awesome resource to interact with and like meet and get to know. There was, I think in my year, there was one woman that served in Guyana because we have an international placement in Guyana, and we actually went to the same college, which was like really cool. Yeah, I learned a lot from her. Just like I could just listen to her talk. She has like so much wisdom. So that's cool. And then in terms of like parents, I know in Mercy Volunteer Corps we had like some medical like health field placements. So we had a number of people in our cohort that were looking to do medical school. So that year of service experience actually provided a lot of good field experience as they were kind of guiding towards that next step in their career. And same thing with like social work or psychology, counseling. I know a lot of people that really, I think it looks really good on a resume to say like, I've had this kind of year of experience that's actually like it's supervised, it's guided. And I think a thing that Mercy Volunteer Corps did really well is safety being a priority, knowing that a lot of us were going to other places that might not be familiar to us, and you have that community built in, but we also had like supports within the staff that were regularly checking in, and then you have your site supervisor that they're familiar that you may not be from the area, and so certain precautions with that too. So I think if you have concerns about that, like as you're discerning the programs, definitely like reach out and connect and ask those questions, and know that it is a priority because they do want you to thrive in the programs, they want you to be supported. So
I think knowing that a lot of the programs are well rooted in the communities they serve in can help alleviate some fears. But I know that when I served with Bon Secours, we had the opportunity as we were discerning to talk with current volunteers or alumni, and also parents had that opportunity too if you just asked. So a lot of the programs have someone who's, you know, one of the many hats they wear is talking to prospective volunteers. So I have friends who I served with whose parents talked to parents of other volunteers who had served or who were serving. And I know even my own parents were like, Baltimore, you know, when I was deciding where to go after college. But, you know, being able to communicate that, well, I'm going to a place that needs, you know, people to volunteer, but also throughout my service experience, being able to change the narrative of, you know, the national headlines for a particular place based on the people you get to know and what you share with the people who were worried about you going somewhere else, kind of calms their fears over, you know, over the time there. But definitely asking to speak to someone like who is either an alumni or a current volunteer who can kind of tell you how it is a skill or a resource that you should take advantage of as you discern.
What I wanted to say, I definitely wanted to echo a lot of what has been said already, but one thing I wanted to bring up is like financial concerns, because I know that can definitely be a concern for prospective parents of volunteers, and just knowing that there's a lot of programs in CVN that offer a lot of different kinds of financial assistance. There's a lot of programs that offer monthly stipends. There's AmeriCorps positions, which you get some sort of educational financial award at the end of. There's a lot of programs that provide you with food and housing and transportation. And while a lot of programs do have this motto and charism of simple living, they do want you to live. So they do want you to be taken care of. So there's there's a lot of programs out there that offer financial assistance. So you're not going to be totally cut off financially. There's a lot of different support that is offered throughout your year, and where you can thrive during your year of service. And as far as I just want to echo the job thing again, that there's so many jobs where years of service kinds of experience look not only really good on a resume, but just really give you amazing, great field experience. So many jobs will be happy that you took this time to really learn and grow and commit yourselves. And it makes you a better person, a better learner, a better server wherever you head next. So just keeping those things in mind, I think, are really important as you're having these conversations with parents and loved ones who do have genuine concerns for you going on a year of service. So yeah.
I don't have too much to add, but I think a lot of programs do student loan deferment as well, so that's something to look into.
My program paid my loans while I was in, like they are monthly payments. They paid our monthly loan payments while we were in the program, so that's something too.
All right, thank you once again. I just chatted with Cheyenne in the chat box. I think that's it on the questions, and we're really sorry to end this session, but we have to let those of you on the East Coast have to eat some dinner, and those of you not on the East Coast, you're probably going to get hungry pretty soon. So we're going to wrap it up, and I just wanted to especially thank Marissa Bell, Sierra, Katie, Faith, Shannon, and Shannon for joining us. It was such a gift to have you with us. And I wanted to ask, show of hands, if anyone emails us a question that maybe you'd be able to help with, could we, the CVN staff, ask you guys for help? And great, awesome. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Cheyenne, for running this whole thing and putting it together. Cheyenne did an awesome job. And thank you to everyone who tuned in and stuck with us so far. If you liked this session and got something out of it, I know I did, we invite you to come back at the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern time next week. You can find the event on CVN's social media and website. We'll be having a panel for volunteers who have served internationally. So those will be some new and different perspectives. And I think, I don't think they can top this panel, but it'll be pretty cool. They can try, yeah. So, okay, you can't see me, but I'm waving goodbye. And thank you so much once again. Everyone have a great night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Thank
Take care.
you. Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Stay safe.
I'll add you guys on Facebook.
How do I leave?
How do I